Our second reading today is from Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 through 20. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For in him all things in heaven and on earth were created, things visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or powers. All things have been created through him and for him. He himself is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He's the head of the body in the church. He's the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he might come to have first place in everything. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him God was pleased to reconcile himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, by making peace through the blood of his cross. This is the word of the Lord.
Please welcome the man, the myth, the legend, Jesus Christ. Coming in at number 1, the firstborn of all creation. At number 2, the visible. Coming in at number 3, the invisible. At number 4, thrones. Coming in at number 5, dominions. At number 6, rulers. Coming in at number 7, powers. At number 8, head of the body. At number 9, it's the big man, beginning. And last but not least, at number 10, reconciliation. Through his blood on the cross, we are all saved by Christ. Youth group taught me how to interact with people I don't know. I cherish this, and I've learned not to judge people who are in different circumstances from me. Instead, I've learned how to relate and become friends with people who are much different than me and are in different situations. The sense of community we have in youth group has made it easy for me and everyone else in this program to make and keep friends. We support one another even though we have different talents, abilities, and interests. I'd like to talk about some experiences I've had in youth group. Mon Street and Massanetta have been places of sanctuary, worship, and great fun. I've made multiple relationships with people from all over the East Coast at these camps, and I keep in touch with many of them daily. Coming to youth group on Sunday afternoons has been a great way to end one week and begin another. It's a place to start fresh, have a good time, and create a good mindset for going into the week. As far as my future will unfold, right now that's uncertain. But I'm not fearful of what's to come because I know that God will stay with me in the future as he has in the past.
I have been a member of FPCA my entire life. I was baptized here, confirmed here, and more recently ordained here. I would not trade the experiences and things I learned here for anything, and am eternally grateful for all the people of the church that have helped me become the Christian I am today. As I was writing this, I was thinking back to the earliest days at the church, and the earliest I could remember was when I was in elementary school. Every Sunday, as an elementary-age kid, I would go to Bible study and the Bible.com classes. It was in these classes where I first learned that Jesus was a person involved in my own life and not just a person I read about in the Bible. As I made my way through elementary school, I learned more and more about the Bible and the stories inside. As I got older and began middle school, I moved from Bible study to Sunday school. Sunday mornings in the middle school room is where my faith started to deepen at a more rapid rate. However, as my faith became deeper, so did some of my doubts. And whenever I had doubts, I would take them to the person I felt could address them. Michael Poulos was always a person that seemed to have an answer for even my most pressing questions. Michael has always been very helpful and supportive of all the youth and helped me to realize that it is okay to not have the answers to some of my questions. While I did enjoy Sunday school, my favorite thing I did with the church as a middle schooler was go to Massanetta Springs for the summer youth conference. Massanetta was my first time that I was able to interact with other kids my age that shared my religious beliefs. While its main appeal to me as a 12-year-old was as a summer camp with all my friends, as I look back on it now, I think the one big thing I learned there was what it means to be a Presbyterian. As my years at Massanetta seem to fly by, I will always be grateful for the things that I learned there. When I started middle school, that also meant I was finally able to start my time in youth group. Youth group at FPCA has been a constant in my life ever since the 6th grade. While the group of kids at youth group change every year, with seniors graduating and people moving churches, youth group was always a positive environment that I looked forward to on Sunday nights. From the games we play to the guest speakers that are willing to share their stories, youth group was always something that kept my interest. The summer between middle school and high school was my first year going to the Montreat Summer Conference. Little did I know this would become one of my favorite weeks all summer. As a senior in high school, talking to you now, I can say with full confidence that Montreat is the place I feel closest to God. Montreat is a youth conference with over 1,000 kids attending almost every week. It is a perfect balance of fun and faith, and has not only allowed me to come closer to God, but also closer to my church friends. Now, as I get ready to take the next step in my life, I am reminded of everything I've learned at this church and the person I am because of it. Whenever I get nervous about the years ahead, I can rest easy knowing that because of this church, I will always have God by my side.
As a lifelong member of FPCA, I have grown quite a bit. I was born into this church. I was baptized here, as well as attended daycare and preschool and child care center. It feels like yesterday I was in Miss Carol's room, and enjoying my goldfish and dreading when my parents would come to the door and say, "It's time to go." How I love to play on that playground. It seems so much smaller now than it once did. Coming up through Bible journeys with Miss Nancy guiding us through, back then, church was time to play with my friends and eat snacks. I always really loved coming to the yearly Halloween party, dressing up, eating donuts on a string, playing games, and having a costume contest where everybody won best costume in their category. Those times were quite fun, but as I grew up in the church and grew with the church, I came to realize there was so much more. Over the years, I have enjoyed acolyting, working with the room in the inn, making cookies, cooking meals, making and then the next week taking apart beds, collecting 5 cents a meal offering, participating in youth group, and going through confirmation. I don't always show up regularly. I've spent a lot of my time over the years playing baseball. I've been away many weekends doing travel ball and have missed weeknight activities because baseball takes up a ton of my time. There are only so many hours in a day and so many days in a week to get things done. What I've really enjoyed is having other church members come up to me on Sunday and ask, "How's baseball going?" or congratulate me on a big win. Standing on the pitcher's mound has taught me to feel comfortable being uncomfortable. Church sort of gives a similar type of feeling, allowing me to be uncomfortable and questioning things around me that sometimes seem uncomfortable, but knowing I have a sense of family with the church and support from those who vowed to help me raise me in the church when I was baptized. It provides a sense of routine, a place I know I can come to, and people I know I can rely on. I'm thankful for the connections I've made, and I know that whatever path I take going forward, God will always be with me, watching over me, and I can always come back here where I know I belong.
My family moved to Asheville when I was in the 6th grade. We visited several churches, but we made our church home here. Because I was homeschooled up through the 8th grade, being in youth group was important because I was around kids my own age. I learned a lot over the years here. Yes, I learned about God and the Bible, but I also learned manners, social cues, and how to be around people that aren't my family. I started picking up on small things like when to stop talking, how to be around people my own age, and how to help people, all while keeping yourself safe at the same time. That was an important one in youth group. We did a lot of volunteer work, but we were never put in places where we weren't safe physically or mentally. One year, I believe I was a sophomore, the youth leaders brought in a lot of outside speakers to talk to us. We heard stories from a female prisoner, a former drug addict, and a person that used to be homeless. I learned a lot listening to them. The world can be cruel and unforgiving. However, helping people, even in small ways, can make a difference. The summer before my junior year, we went on a mission trip to Washington, D.C. While we were there, we visited a church that had a special summer program for at-risk kids. We helped them learn how to read. We also visited a lot of museums and memorials, including the Holocaust Museum. I remember being struck by the sheer number of people who were killed during the Holocaust. Not just Jewish people, but also gypsies, Polish people, gay men, and the mentally disabled. I also remember the stories of survival, of the resistance, and how prisoners at the camps helped and supported one another. Funny story about that trip, one of our chaperones, Tavi, had to come find me and my brother because we took so long going through the museum. Did I mention that we were homeschooled? The key takeaway from that trip for me is that not everyone is as fortunate as we are, and we need to use our power to help others who are less fortunate, and that if we don't learn and remember history, we might repeat it. One highlight of every year is our week at Montreat. When we're at Montreat, we get to meet and know youth from churches all over the country. We're divided up into small groups that meet twice a day, except on Wednesday, where we meet once in the morning. So we get to know some of these other youth really well. Because of the diversity of the youth, their leaders, and the different preachers and keynoters there every year, we get exposed to a lot of different points of views and perspectives. This church has been my church home for the last few years, and it will always hold a place in my heart.